Call meeting to order, 4:30 PM. Please note, trustee Feeney going to be late for this meeting. I'd like to welcome our guests or our audience, which is Mr. Maloney and Mr. Wright. Please roll call.
Tommy,
Here.
Feeney will be late. Hubbard,
Here.
Lopes Sorrow.
Here.
Close, sorry. Mumper. Here.
Thank you. Do we have anybody on the Zoom?
I got two people, three here. But, so we got Valerie from our office, Tanya Westfall, Clark Dietz, and then, looks like Jess Felkowski,
Okay,
village staff essentially.
all right. Any public comment? Gentlemen? Mr. Wright, Mr. Maloney?
Thank you.
Okay. The approval of 7/12/21 Public Work Committee, Utility Committee meeting. I'll accept the motion for that, minute of that meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Is there a second? Discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I have it. Thank you. Acknowledge work product. Acknowledgement of water and sewer permit and application. We don't have anything.
Maybe just skip to number 9.
Okay. 6. Staff report, CIP project status updates.
Yep.
Michael?
I guess with the main project right now, that being the Crestwood Acres project. Got concrete work started today on Kirk Street with the shoulder being poured. Tomorrow Rodney Street should get done. And then the contractor was working on finishing up water and sewer laterals on the south side of Kirk Street and the easternmost part of East Everest Ave. And then they'll be working on getting the Douglas Lane roadway shaped up yet later this week. And water and sewer main starting on East Everest. So they're a little over halfway done from what I can tell on their schedule, which puts them pretty much on schedule to finish by about the middle of October, which is the substantial completion date for the project. So it's on schedule, I guess, as far as we're concerned, so.
So you didn't made up the rain day they had and all?
Yeah, so it seems like when they get opportunities, they have a second or possibly even a third crew that comes in for a few days to help get caught up or, especially with some of the storm sewer work, they try to get that done as quickly as possible so that if it does rain like we've had, it all of a sudden isn't a complete mess, so.
So for that concrete work, do you approve the mix design or engineer does or?
Yeah, so,
They approve that?
yeah, and then they have a tester on site,
They do cylinder?
cylinders, slump air, correct. So I guess that's kind of the status there. Hopefully next week or next month, we're talking about how there's another road getting concrete work and hopefully some asphalt down too, so. Birch Street, waiting on some revised plan.
Sample, excuse me, for asphalt too?
What was that? Yeah, we'll do the same
Sample
thing.
For asphalt too?
Yep,
The old content,
yeah.
great.
Correct. So Birch Street, just waiting on the next draft of preliminary plans from Becker Happy and then looking to hold our public information meeting. Yeah, so hopefully later this month or like early September for that. We met with AECom last week to go over the County Road X or Weston Avenue between X and J. So they have their wetland delineations done and survey work completed. And kind of just working on getting the footprint of the road now fit in and seeing what other obstacles we may have as far as right-of-way needing to be purchased or wetlands being mitigated, so. We're looking to have some soil borings and other items done yet this summer. And we also met with MSA to go over the Weston Ave project between Alderson and Birch, which is a joint project with the Village of Rothschild. We'll be looking to submit a local road improvement program grant this fall for that project. Safety building, staff completed the landscaping work. We just need to set a few light poles and replace a few wall packs, and then that work should more or less be done for this year. And then the municipal center, the site work is underway, and the concrete footing work likely in about 2 weeks or next week. I guess today's 9th now. And Tanya Tricia lift station, just waiting for Pember to get all their materials procured so they can get started. Then the well 7 and 8 project, we received another batch of questions back from the PSC regarding that. We'll be hopefully getting those answered this week, and then probably bidding the well portion of the project later this month. So that'll be.
What kind of question? I saw you said simple question in your report.
It was just clarifying the boundary of, the disturbance extent, confirming the type of well casing. I think there are little details that, I think were maybe on the plans that weren't called out, maybe well, but, I can look at the exact letter if you want.
But didn't they send them the drawing of the?
Yeah, so they get all that, and
On that drawing, everything is specified, the well casing and everything is there, size of the screen, the length of it, and cap and everything else is there practically.
yeah. Here, yes. Oh, yeah, list anything that we're retiring as part of the project. We're not retiring anything as part of the project, so, just confirming that the endangered resources assessment completed June 1st, 21, included with the application is accurately depicting the location of the project site. So here is one about the projected water demand, based on the population projection. This was just they didn't understand the main system and our carry system. So the well must have been one previously, but, so these were all, I guess, kind of, to us straightforward, but maybe somebody reading it didn't quite understand the level of it, so. So if it's just confirming that, yes, the map that we submitted is the map we submitted, so.
Okay, anything else?
All right. Thanks. That's just kind of the status of the current projects we have, either in construction or design phase.
All the construction on the schedule.
What was that?
All the construction project are on the schedule.
Yeah.
Okay. Any question for Michael? Okay, item 10, street operation update?
Yeah, it was a good month, July into August, the usual stuff that we've been doing. The storms kind of set us back a little bit, but dealt with a lot of tree, brush and stuff from Joseph Street, Newport, around the area. We still got a little more to pick up. There was one out on Clearview that got hit pretty bad. Other than that, the landscaping is done at the safety building. The crew is finishing up now on Normandy Street, south of Jelnik. There was a storm sewer extension we did there all the way between El Segundo and Monterey. They were top selling on that today. To get that done, hopefully we're gonna do some asphalt wedging. There's a bad bump on Schofield Avenue past J where the snowmobile crossing is. We wanna mill and wedge that. Down on Fuller needs some work. There's one there too, a little bit of work on Shorey. So as long as it's warm, we're gonna get after some of that. Catch basins continue to sprout where we're finding holes here and there, which is normal. Inlets in the curb. You'll find a hole in the asphalt. We've got half a dozen of those to fix, and they're a little bit, it isn't a big deal, but it's kind of a phase thing where you have to remove the blacktop, set the casting, pour the curb, so it takes a little time, but the crew is good at doing it. Other than that, we're just gonna keep on with our routine maintenance. Probably the next big thing coming up as far as storm sewer, we wanna put some in out by Wassa Supply on Commerce Drive. They have roof drains that come off of there. I talked with them last year. In the winter, we had a lot of ice buildup there. So we wanna go on the north side of Commerce Drive there, and I'm gonna contact them. We're gonna extend some storm sewer in there so we can catch that water instead of having it run over the curb and down on, because otherwise we're scraping and scraping. That's kind of it in a nutshell right now. We'll see what else pops up. Hopefully no more storms. As far as projects that are going on, Barbican Avenue is still going. Summers is working on the curb on that. Hopefully next week sometime they should be getting close to finishing that up. I talked with American Asphalt today. As soon as Summers is done, they want to come in and start milling asphalt, and then they're going to look at repaving that. Pembroke Construction has a Westview Boulevard rehabilitation project. They're looking at starting that around the 16th, I believe, or it might be the 26th. I apologize. They changed the dates on me. They're going to basically close Westview Boulevard going off of County Highway X. And they're going to do it in 3 phases so they can try to keep traffic in and out of the store, gas station. So we're working with them on that. That's going to be basically some concrete repair right by X. And then the remainder of the street, as you go to the west, we're gonna remove the concrete. I think I talked about this last time, and pave it with asphalt. We were out on the bridge today, on the Eau Claire River Bridge. Farner is doing the repair work on that. The patches have grown on there from when I sounded it in March. I sounded the deck, and that's kind of typical. The epoxy overlay that's on that bridge sometimes hides things. It's a lot easier to sound a deck or even see a deck if you don't have that on there. The unfortunate part is that epoxy's letting loose. That's kind of what started some of this. It's not uncommon because that is a smooth deck. It's not a tined concrete deck. If you go on the Eau Claire River Bridge by the dam down in Schofield, it's the same thing. And actually the DOT's got some issues out on 51 on the bridges that were built in the 2000s out there. When they built all those bridges, they put one layer of epoxy coating on it and rock, and they're looking at having to reduce some of them now. Typically, a lot of times they would put 2 layers. So to cut to the chase, the patches have grown on the bridge. So that means we're gonna be doing more work on it. We might not overlay it with epoxy this year. We're gonna see what happens. It might be smarter to just strip the epoxy off the deck that's left there, seal it with a good TK 590 sealer is what DOT uses out on all the bridges on the state, and leave it sit over the winter and see what happens. They do have to take and work the whole east side of the bridge, because if you look at it from the walking bridge, you'll see where it's delaminated in the deck. So they're gonna end up sawing, chopping that out, reforming it, putting in some new epoxy coated rebar. They're also gonna put in some galvanic anodes. And what happens is that changes the electrical current in the bridge deck and the rebar, because those are not uncoated rebar in there. That'll hopefully help that live longer. I was in touch with Tom Hardinger from the DOT. I've known Tom for 25 years. He's a bridge supervisor over the north central region. And we discussed this bridge here. And what happens is when these bridges start to, you start to get the lamination in the deck where you'll get a spall in it and the rebar starts to rust. When you patch that spall, what he said is the material that's in there, when you replace it, changes the cathodic ions or whatever it is, and those spalls will grow eventually again. You will get stuff around them. So that's why we've got a little bigger area right now. And he says eventually it'll be probably having to redeck the bridge down the line. This will buy us hopefully 10 years. We'll see where we're at out of it all. But they're progressing on it. It's gonna probably be closed all the way through the 28th, I'm guessing. We'll see how things go. So that's kind of it in a nutshell right now. Birch Street we're looking at. I got to get something together yet. I talked to American Asphalt on doing some work on Birch Street too, off of Schofield Avenue, north and south. So it's probably a lot more information than maybe you want, but.
Do they have to,
That's good.
do they have to unrust that rebar?
They'll blast it. Yeah, typically and they've got 2 holes poked in it, which happens. not a big deal to fix those. But yeah, what they do is you chip it down underneath the first mat of bars. You gotta get underneath them, so when you pour, they're gonna end up using Portland, Class C Portland on this now instead of the quick set cement that you mix in smaller quantities. You go underneath the bars, they'll blast all the bars, they'll tie them back together, because with the jackhammering, they'll end up getting bent up and separated. You tie them back tight, and then you'll pour it and cure it. The downside is when you use Portland cement instead of the quick set cements, you have to wait to get breaks on the Portland. You can't open it up the same day, where if you've got small holes and you're using what they call quick set cement, you can open it faster, but the problem is with a big patch like that, this stuff sets so fast that you don't get a good patch by trying to do a big area. So we'll use Portland, so if you see the thing closed for a day or several days, probably with a Class C, it's gonna be closed, I'm guessing 3. It's gonna be the curing portion of the work that's being done on that southbound lane. They get the southbound lane done with the deck patching, they're gonna flop and do the northbound lane, do all the same thing, do the spall repair, then they're gonna tackle the outside edge. So.
Other question? Yes, sir.
So I think last week, there were some questions from some residents up in the neighborhood about, the schedule and how the work progress is going. I think you were gonna meet with the contractor today and kind of talk about the urgency of this thing getting done and progress being shown. So did you get that all straightened out? I meant to talk to you about that earlier.
Yeah, I talked to Mike Frodel, he's the supervisor more or less. They've got, the gentleman that's out on the bridge is named Brent Rogers, I think. He's a go-getter. Last week, Friday, he had told me Thursday he wasn't gonna be here Friday. I assumed the crew was still gonna be going, but without him, evidently they shut it down. But I talked to Mike today about that, staying with it, and he said they're going to. So, the only thing is if it's raining out, it's really, you can't hardly jackhammer in the rain because the hole fills with water. You can't see what you're doing. And you don't want to poke any more holes in that deck than you absolutely have to. They're using 30-pound hammers, which we used to use 60s when I was at the county. I spent 7 years on the bridge crew doing that kind of stuff, so I'm kind of familiar with it. But, so if it's raining out, you might not see mouth. You can't blast in the rain either. The blaster will not go. But we'll pray for dry weather. It sounds good this week. So hopefully they get that southbound lane poured this week. That would be great because that way it'll help cure over the weekend. I did time the lights when I was out there. I don't know. I haven't really received many phone calls from anybody. And if you go and sit on one side, from when the light turns green on the other side, it'll cycle. When it hits red, there is a period of 25 seconds that it waits before the other one will go green. So they make sure that traffic is through before it turns green. So it seems to be working pretty good. So hopefully.
Yeah, I went through it.
You okay with it?
Yeah, it was a little bit long, I would say, but I think it's all right.
I watched it also, that it wasn't, I thought it was acceptable. It didn't seem like it was a very long.
There's no big lines.
Yeah,
Good.
And there is a stall, so I have seen people, including Michael, cheat and go through. When there's a car sitting and it's red, and I saw Michael go through, so, but whatever. So,
Yeah.
actually, it was me. I do it every chance I can. Anyway.
And the other thing, Ross Avenue's up and paved now. We're just waiting for the striping. They were talking last week, they were gonna get to it from Camp Phillips to Mesker, but we're waiting on the contractor. That's through American Asphalt. They have the striping on it, so.
Are we gonna sometime seal coat the bicycle path
Yeah,
eventually, because
Yeah.
as old as the blacktop, and I think it's gonna survive longer if we do that.
Yep.
And also, I think before you open the road, probably it has to be swept, because there's gravel on it of construction of paving. Doing the
Over on, okay. Yeah, we'll put that on the list for this week.
So these are my observations.
I've been getting a lot of calls just thanking and congratulating you guys for a phenomenal job during the tornado and windstorm. So I know that I called Michael after some of the residents on East Newport said, "We've chopped all of the trees, we just need them taken away." But you guys really did a phenomenal job, and thank you for all of your hard work.
I'll pass that on. We do have a couple stumps to pull, and then in case anybody asks down there, the center of that cul-de-sac, we're gonna end up seeding and get some grass to grow in again too, yeah.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Question? 11, utility operation update.
Yeah, operators are still handling a few hundred locates each month. Lots of work orders still coming in. For SCADA stuff, we did have a meeting with AECom as part of our well 7 and 8 wells that kind of discussing what our expectations are for our future SCADA system. We did wrap up our flushing operations early part of the month, July. Our well 6, we did have an irrigation line leak that we had to repair out there. As part of our DNR sanitary survey, there was one more, I guess, deficiency that we brought into compliance at our Everest Tower. Just had an overflow was a little too high, needed to be lowered. Collected our post-flushing samples as well. Spent some time working on rebuilding a hydrant near the tower, part of the Crestwood Acres project. Summer help Dan was continuing on some of the hydrant maintenance when he wasn't brought on to help with some of the sewer jetting. Sewer jetting did start right away after we had our flushing operations. That's ongoing. Probably need to see where we're at with try to get a third of our system every year. Kind of need to see where we're at there. The guys road cleaning the lift stations. I think they wrapped up the lift stations that were left from June. They also got out and cleaned some of our known bad areas. The continued with our monthly DNR data entry that we have to do. As time permits, the guys are still upgrading some of the lights and kind of upkeep with some of our lift station and well buildings. We are working on a RFP for some hydrant painting to get that out. As part of that, we're trying to determine what hydrants we may need to repair or replace this year still. We have RFP for manholes.
Excuse me,
Yes.
do they sandblast it when they paint them?
Yep, all the ones along, like last year, we did kind of all the main roads, Schofield Ave, Alderson, some of the highly salted areas last year. So I reached out to a couple of the hydrant painting outfits already this year. They're kind of hoping to push it maybe in the next year, but we'll see. We have some areas that we'd like to try to get on top of and, but also see what ones we can replace so we don't paint it and then realize we need to replace it right away anyway, so. Manhole rehabilitations, we do have that in the packet today to award that to Visi Sewer for this year's manhole rehabs. Also working on a RFP for some sewer lining that hopefully at the next month's meeting we'll be able to get on that and get that awarded.
Where is that line? You're gonna line it?
Well, there's a number of areas that we wanna address, maybe along the Eau Claire River. There's a section. We had some others identified in our sewer study that we wanted to take care of. So there's plenty of areas we want to do, and I can't remember what the percentage is. There's a percentage that on our sewer study that we should try to line a certain percentage of our system annually.
Yeah, so we should try to get,
5%.
well, it's about 2% a year lined, but with the Crestwood project, we're replacing about 1% of the system just with new pipe.
Yeah.
So I guess just, if we can get 2% total between new replaced pipe and line pipe, I guess that's kind of what our goal is. So we have about 100 miles of pipe, so, once every 50 years, it's either a new pipe or a line pipe, so.
Is it economical?
Yeah, I mean, in the situations where you don't have to worry about digging up streets and replacing all that, we're trying to look at areas like in the village of Rothschild where, as a sewer utility, we don't own the street. So, if we can lump in lining a main with, a street reconstruction, that makes sense. But like there's parts of Schofield Avenue that were noted where there's kind of some open joints and things like that we'd like to get lined without, digging up Schofield Ave and, the cost of repairing the rest of the roadway that way. So.
But the cost is not a lot different.
Well, it's getting closer, I think.
If they know the cost. I know the cost of reconstruction and I know the cost of the lining it, so they try to just make it pretty close to each other.
Yeah, so like I said, as far as just a strictly sewer utility, looking at, needing to repair something, you know, the last set of data we got, the cost of, say, laying a open cut trenching a pipe versus lining that same pipe, it's almost the same per linear foot,
Yeah.
but then you don't have to worry about the restoration and everything else too, if you're lining it, so.
Are there some offset joints that they're gonna have to go down and fix before they can line it, or?
It seems like it's just open, like you can see in the televising that there's kind of some mineral deposits, maybe some grease kind of dripping, so, you know, I guess we'd get a heavy cleaning in, re-televise it, make sure it's still, you know, structurally sound.
Yeah.
But, try to figure out what's going on in there, you know, and we've lined areas where we've had, you know, holes, and those seem to be holding up, so.
Okay, thanks.
And we also had a fun little project pop up at Patriot Auto where it turned out the water main wasn't fully tapped to begin with, so it was a nice project. We got to team up with the street crew and the guys got everything flowing again, and everyone seems to be happy, so I think we're delivering the meter tomorrow, so that should be a shut case. Michael touched on most of our ongoing projects. I guess we do have our Carrier well investigation still going on. We had our 6-month stagnating sample conducted in July. We'll have a 9-month sample. I think we have to do that in September. We got a little off schedule on that, but we should have that wrapped up by November. We can close the book on that. And then that should do it for the project work, and we have our customers added through the month of July. Boy, I must have still thought we were in June. Our customers added our water pump to the system, wastewater flows, lift station hours, and some of our Aquahawk data as well for you.
Okay. Any question? Right. Policy discussion and recommendation. Item 12, recommendation to approve engineering service change order number 2 for Crestwood Acre reconstruction project. Michael, is there a second crew there or?
Mr. Chairman, I have an ethical conflict on this item, so I will excuse myself for the duration of discussion and voting.
All right. Thank
Yes.
you. So, Michael, is it 2 crew? They add crew to their?
So there will be a second crew, it sounds like, starting here. A lot of it just stems from when we sent out the RFP back, well, a year ago for engineering services. I tried to make it so everybody was bidding, providing us with proposals on the same, you know, same comparison. We used 18 weeks or 900 hours of construction services,
Right.
which, you know, with the project starting in May, essentially takes us through August. So, like I mentioned earlier, Switlick's schedule showed them going into the beginning of October. So, you know, in talking with the guys from AECom, you know, they're gonna stay there through October. They just wanna make sure their contract is also extended then through October. You know, if Switlick finishes sooner, you know, we don't pay them for time that they don't spend on site. And also, you know, if a second crew doesn't materialize, or, you know, if the second crew is there and, you know, one inspector can still handle it both, you know, they'll try to minimize how many people they have on site, but, you know, I guess that's kind of our judgment too. If we think they need to have a second person out there, we can say, get a second person out here. Or if we think they don't need to have that second person out there, we can also tell them, you know, I think one person can handle this, you don't need to have that second one out there.
So how often we visit the site? Do we visit the site at all? Or?
How often do we? I go out there usually at least once a day. Josh swings out there usually once a day. Dan's out there. You know, so it's
Good.
yeah, you know, the residents, there's a couple that like to call and ask questions, so, you know, we need to know what's going on as far as, you know, the utility hookups and figuring out what's going on there. You know, Josh is involved, and, you know, same thing, Dan, as far as, you know, if there's needs with, them stripping asphalt, or if we have to go pick up some of the salvaged pipe that, you know, we as the village keep. You know, so
So do they have a weekly meeting out there?
yep, every Wednesday, we have a weekly meeting by the water tower.
Any question?
Have they found anything that's been incorrect today?
Have they found anything? You know, there's, the best way to put it is, you know, the plans are the plans, you know, it looks good on paper. And then when you get out there, you know, you notice maybe some elevation should be changed a little, or, locations of a lateral that could be shifted a little bit. So, there's been a lot of, you know, some of those small, minor, you know, kind of field engineering items that, they've addressed. You know, even just making sure that, you know, we're getting accurate, information back, you know, as far as pay items, you know, so making sure, you know, if the contractor submits a pay application, we have the documentation that, yes, that is what they installed in ground, so they're getting, you know, it's part of the job. And then making sure at the end of the day, the drawings we get back from them are accurate, showing where the laterals are, making sure everything's installed at the right elevation. So.
All right, anything else? Item 13,
I guess we need a motion perhaps.
go for that, yes, okay. I'll accept the motion for that change order number 2.
I'll move to recommend the village board approve the change in AECOM's engineering contract for the increase in construction services for the price not to exceed $68,200.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I have it, thank you. Item 13, recommendation to approve sanitary sewer manhole lining project. Michael?
I could take that one. Back in the spring, our staff had kind of collected a handful of manholes that we thought needed to be rehabbed for this year. We kind of decided it was about 19 that were in a state that we could have some rehabilitation services completed on. All these manholes are located on the south side of Highway 29 to the west of Alderson, and just to the north of Weston Ave. We got 2 proposals back, one from Northern Pipe, who was in the last couple of years doing some rehab services for us. We also got one from Visi Sewer, which had kind of a different way of looking at it, where Northern Pipe had kind of built everything on a unit price for all services, sealing leaks, as well as applying the 1/2-inch cementitious material. So Visi Sewer was able to kind of give us a little bit better price. I think there's a little bit of chance to maybe save some money compared to the other ones. So, yeah, we have 19 manholes. They'll be going in, hand applying to seal the leaks, hand applying some the cementitious material to the inside. And, you know, it's kind of part of our CMOM where we want to go through and inspect and make sure that, you know, if we identify manholes that are in need of it, if they're leaking, you know, it's gonna save us money on the back end if we don't have to pay for that water down the road, so.
Okay. And the price is good? What is it, $305?
Well, yeah, their base total is 21,200. That's basically taking 200 vertical feet of manhole, applying the cementitious material, and then they basically bill out at $305 an hour for sealing leaks. So I counted at, you know, if they spend 4 hours per each manhole sealing a leak, it would come out to the other proposal. So looking at the manholes we chose, I don't see that it's gonna be able to, I don't see it as meeting the proposal of the other outfits. So feel with, I know there's probably maybe 6 or 7 that'll take some decent time to seal. But I think some of them just need that cementitious material applied to it to keep any kind of weeping coming through, so.
I move to recommend the village board approve the Visu sewer to rehab 19 sanitary sewer manholes for the base amount of $21,200.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I have it, thank you. Item 14, recommendation to approve power wall exercise. You bring that picture up? There we go. No, there is another one there. Okay,
Yeah, so, this would be, I guess I didn't note it in here, we do currently have one, it's a two-man operation to utilize it, it's stressful on the guys to even get out there and utilize the exerciser we have, so, this is a Trail Mount Herco SD 400 valve exerciser through McQueen we've been dealing with. We did have a demo, come out and, like that picture in the yellow there is basically what you could see, it's all on hydraulic lifts. It's just, you can have one hand move it. You set your post down into it, get on the valve, and you just have a trigger to turn the valves, and you can exercise it. So,
computerized or, yeah.
yeah, it has, you can set it. You don't have to go full bore on it. You can kind of ease into it if something's a little tight. I know some of our guys take pride in muscling up on some of these things, but some of them aren't getting any younger, so we want to make sure they stick around. So we have a lot of valves to turn. We have to meet the NR codes for all of our distribution valves. We got to make sure we get through those every 2 to 5 years. We have currently 2,160 distribution valves. We do 400 distribution valves annually with our valve flushing. That can change based on some issues happening or some construction projects, so they're not always the same exact valves every year. But on top of that, we have a map and set up where we do an additional about 350 valves every year to make sure they exercise them, just to make sure they're working. And sometimes when you get on a valve, you can't turn it. You think you may need to replace it. If we can get on this and maybe it ease it up and it frees it up, then we don't have to spend $12,000 repairing a valve that just might be stuck. So I think this is an easier way to kind of ease into it. There was an 800 unit as well, but we figured if we can't turn it with the 400 unit, it probably needs to be replaced anyway. So, I guess it's, there's a lot of other uses we can use it for. We have a lot of hydrant lead valves that we have to do. We currently have about 880 of those. You can use it for, turning hydrants as well. We got to do our hydrant maintenance.
How much time it take to exercise one of them with this machine?
Pull up, get on there, and it wouldn't take any longer than it would to pull your van up, get all your sticks to get on the valve, turn it, pack it up, and get going.
Still, you gotta put that wrench on there, or whatever you call that.
Yep, and there's basically just a quick connect that you would drop. I think it had 4 or 5 sticks that came with it. Basically drop it down there and just pull the trigger, and then she starts spinning it for you.
So I would say 1 hour for each.
Oh, yeah,
No, it's
minutes.
Couple minutes.
Yeah.
Well, you gotta drive there, you gotta park it, you gotta bring the
Yeah.
our vehicle.
Well, and that's, the hope that I would have with this is, when the guys are out doing their hand exercising of what they have to do, if they get on one where they can't, we can mark it. And then one day, we can have one guy go out now instead of having 2 guys to handle some of these valves that may not exercise using the hand wrench. So it can free up time for one other guy to be doing something else. And if we have a map, they can just back this up, hook up, and take off and exercise some valves.
Yeah, and
This wouldn't really be used, hopefully, as a everyday thing, unless somebody wants to go out and utilize it that way.
so what part of this can go wrong or break down or whatever?
I suppose that it comes with its own power pack. I'm not sure, if there's some maintenance
Yeah.
time for that, you know.
Yeah. it's
Yeah.
hydraulic. Yeah, I mean, so, like, a couple years ago, we did an ergonomic study for, our crew, you know, what activities do we do that lead to workers' comp claims? And valve exercising was on the top of the list, because the guys are out there spinning, so it's hard on your shoulders and your back. You know, as Josh mentioned, I think we have 3 operators who have had some sort of shoulder, back, surgery in the past. So, you know, we're trying to find ways to make it so, you know, we can work safer and as efficiently as we can, so.
Let the machine do the work, that's
Correct.
okay.
Yeah.
But I'm asking these questions, maybe you have to have a part on the store all the time, or how
Yeah.
often do you have to send it back for maintenance, or we can do it over here?
Yeah, I mean, any hydraulic issue, you know, our mechanics on staff can fix those. You know, if there's a special part, you know, the dealer's out of Milwaukee, so. Worst case scenario, you know, a couple days to get something from them, but,
When you retighten these, do you have a spec that you're torquing to, like 250 pounds or 300 pounds or something, or how does that? And my concern just if you give somebody a tool now that they can do it automatically.
yeah,
You got a 250 pound, you know, that's the max it can take, they got it set on 400 and now your cost savings get shredded.
yeah. Yeah, and like Josh said, you can,
I think they do more damage when they do them by hand because they put a
Cheater bar.
cheat bar on it and they have more.
I was very familiar with torquing stuff.
This is supposed to, the theory here is it's gonna be turned
Do you set it
some
for
certain
some
part and then you turn it back and then you're supposed to do it gradually.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's all been discussed with
I
the.
assume this is.
Presume it has.
Set up your token there.
it is, yeah.
That's what I was
Yeah.
asking.
And he's
Can you
gonna-
set it?
Yeah, you can set it so
Yeah.
that, you know, it's, you know, you can.
That was just one of my concerns, if they don't get trained properly, and it's less than what the max
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
You get the phone call, oops.
Yeah.
So the picture above it, is that the existing machine or what?
No, so this is just another so this is the power pack.
Yeah.
This one, I'm thinking the power pack must be in the back of the pickup truck or something, or maybe it's sitting down here.
It's in front there.
So it's basically the little generator that sits on the trailer, so it's a backup and go. You know, all of our utility vans have, you know, a trailer hitch on them, so anybody can, would be able to take it out, you know. At first, we were thinking maybe we'd have something to be hitch mounted, but then it was like, okay, how are we going to make it so that one person can go back up and, you know, I don't want somebody trying to pick this up to put it on the hitch to then save their back when they're doing something else, you know. And then also, where does the generator go to power it? So that was the reason for the trailer mounted version, is just so everything's in one spot and we're not, you know, chasing, you know, somebody who maybe put pieces for the extension rod in their van, or it's in a different pickup truck and then somebody else is trying to use it and it's not there, so.
Gentlemen, any question? Okay, I'll accept the motion.
I move to recommend that the village board approve the purchase of the trailer mounts power valve exerciser for price of $17,109.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I have it, thank you. Item 15, discussion on capital improvement plans, future project list.
All right, so last meeting I had the street projects listed. This time around, we also added in some of the utility projects specific, such as some of the wells, the treatment plants, water towers, and then some of the other kind of TIF repaving type of projects. I guess as we build on this, and then also for years 25 and 26, kind of tried to fill in those 2 years so that we get a full 5 years between 2022 and 2026. So I don't know if everybody had a chance to look through kind of the list of the projects, or if anybody has any questions, if it's easier to go year by year or look at a map, or
I think we go year by year, but before we go there.
Yep.
Would like to see we do the water project, water treatment project as soon as we can. The special alternative because that, well, I understand as you told me, serve the business district.
Yeah, Alta Verde and Blado both kind of serve that northwest portion of the,
I think we should put those projects ahead if we could,
yeah,
because, they're complaining, let's put it that way. It costs
Yep.
them money to clean up their, water heater or boiler or whatever because,
yeah,
it costs them money to replace them all the time and they charge them to even pump the water out of it, $200 each time. So,
sure. Yeah, so the thought process here is once wells 7 and 8 come online, we can minimize the use of Alta Verde and Blado. So 7 and 8 are supposed to have really good pristine water quality. So those wells should be online next year in 22. So then at that point, so the year listed is the construction year. So with the manganese and iron removal plant, we'll have to do a pilot study before the actual construction so that we can make sure the treatment is gonna give us the results we want. So we'd be looking at doing that probably next year, once the other wells are online. So I guess it would be trying to do it as quickly as we can without kind of hurting our ability to provide enough water for the system.
Sure. I'm saying that based on what I'm hearing.
No, yeah, I understand.
So,
Yeah, we want to get those, that up and running as soon as we can. So yeah, I guess, so there would be some work in 2022 likely on those.
so do we need to do the pilot study on this or you already done?
No, so that needs to be done. But, yeah. And,
I'm gonna ask this, it's probably a difficult question, but, when you're looking originally at this plan, especially in regards to road improvements, future road improvements, post-COVID with the shift in work from home, does that affect how you're looking at things going forward? To any extent, or should it? I guess it,
Yeah.
I realize we're not as much of an urban area as some, but I
Yeah.
think in some places I can envision that having a significant shift in traffic patterns or usage.
Yeah, so this year initially we had 2 intersection studies that we were going to do that we didn't because I wasn't sure if it was gonna give us the right patterns, right? You know, so if we do traffic studies in the middle of COVID and people are working from home or school, you know, they're doing school at home. You know, so I guess we have some intersection studies that we, you know, are in the plan, you know, looking at Schofield Ave and Ryan Street. You know, that's one where we get calls with people trying to drop off their kids in the morning to the middle school. They take Ryan Street, they, you know, coming from the backside, you know, people trying to get into the business park and some of the semi-truck traffic. And then all the additional kind of apartment housing that's gone in, you know, on that intersection. You know, I'm sure it does back up on days and, you know, but so I was hesitant to do that last year, knowing that, you know, school was only, you know, I think at the middle school, they had Wednesday was one cohort, Tuesday, Thursday was another cohort, and then they did flex Fridays or no school on Fridays, so. So I guess that was one project where kind of trying to hold back, waiting until, I guess, you're comfortable that this is a normal traffic pattern again. I guess other than that, I can't really think of any other project specifically. You know, I guess we're still trying to, you know, as we evaluate projects, you know, we look at, you know, the drainage system, if that's, you know, needing improvement, if the pavement needs to be upgraded, water sewer lines, you know, what those look like. So usually you look to see if all 4 of those are, yes, they need to be addressed, then, you know, it's for sure this project's in the queue. You know, if it's 1 or 2 of them, maybe, you know, is there a way we can do a smaller rehab maintenance project on it so that it's not a full-blown CIP, but.
all these projects, you have the sidewalk that you didn't mention the sidewalk gonna be on both sides of the street or only one side?
Yeah, so if we're putting sidewalk on the street, it would be on, both sides.
I would make it the common in there because when you say sidewalk, it could be only one side, like Schofield Avenue.
Yeah, so if we were redoing Schofield Avenue today, we would put it on both sides. I think that was a compromise maybe with Marathon County when they rebuilt it, or the state, and then it was given to the village.
I would think about a Fuller, putting a sidewalk in there, probably you're gonna have a lot of, complaint definitely, because you're gonna go way to their yard. Or
Yeah.
go is the right of way, but they think that's their yard, you know that story.
Yep.
But, I
Yeah.
think it still is good to look ahead before we go through all the dilemma we went through with the projects,
Yep.
existing projects.
Yeah, and Fuller Street's it's at least a collector, if not a minor arterial on the MPO list, so that,
Yep.
you know, it's a given that that one would get, you know, sidewalk on it, you know. If we wanted to look at a multi-use path instead of a sidewalk, you know, that'd be an option, but, you know, we'd be looking at putting something on that street, so. You know, that wouldn't be one that I guess I would recommend we not put sidewalk on, you know, that'd be one that would keep it, just due to the use of it and its connectivity between Ross Ave and Schofield Ave.
Oh, I agree with you 100%.
Yeah.
But people's voice are pretty strong, so if they come.
Yeah.
We just wanna make sure, I wanna make sure we stay ahead of it.
Sure.
And I think with anything, it just comes down to education and letting people learn about what's happening, because a lot of times people just don't have, they either don't take advantage of the opportunities to learn about what's happening, or they just, whatever happened, but there's misunderstandings about, oh, this is actually my yard, no, it's actually village property, or whatever. I know we certainly ran into that with the Crestwood project, so it's just making sure that we communicate with people and educate.
A few years back, we were looking at Alderson, and people were complaining about putting the fence or not putting the fence, or the road was getting too busy and they requested to have a fence in there. So since the Renko, I said, stake out where the fence gonna go. And they went take a look at it, they said, we don't want a fence. Because it practically in their back step, that's all it was, you know? So, they don't complain unless they see exactly where it is, then they start complaining.
And the sidewalks come down to just safety. I mean, I lived over by Fuller and it's busy. There's a lot of kids. I mean, that road does need it, you know, and wherever the right of way is, it is, and you just have to do it, you know.
Correct.
Yeah, I drove down Fuller on my way here and avoided someone jogging.
Yeah.
And I'm guilty also, I use it as the same purpose.
Well, and you don't have another option, right? Like, you wanna try to, you know, from your neighborhoods, run to the Mountain Bay Trail, like, you have to go down Fuller. If you're trying to get to Ross Avenue, you know, usually you have to go down Fuller, so.
And then at the intersection to Schofield Avenue, we can straighten that one up, or what we're gonna do, or we wait for that other project to come through?
So I guess that's the thought is, you know, hold on a second. Fast forward to Fuller Street here. You know, we would look at seeing if we could straighten that out and try to line it up with Old Costa Lane down here.
So you're gonna make it part of that project?
So we would make it part of that project, and if,
Okay.
you know, I think it'd be silly to rebuild a road here and then come back, you know, a few years later and, you know, tear this up and put it in there, you know,
Sure.
so. You know, we'd look at it, see what the feasibility of it is, and, you know, I know we think it's a good idea right now, and see if we still think it's a good idea once we get a little more,
Where's the cell tower in relation
the cell tower is right here.
there? Okay, so that would not have to be.
Yeah, correct. So it would try to kind of, once the Mountain Bay Trail hits Fuller, kind of come straight south in between Weston Lanes and Arrow Sports Club there. and then, try to just get it so our intersections along Schofield Ave kind of match up instead of having the staggered intersections that we currently have.
So you give rest of the road, which is gonna be abandoned, to the arrow bars to make up for the land you're taking away from them.
Yeah, I guess we'd have to look at something. I know one iteration from the Schofield Ave corridor plan showed that still kind of being a little bit of a cul-de-sac street, just so there was a driveway still into those properties. So I guess that's, conceptually, we'd do something there. So as we get further into the design process, I guess and talking with the property owners more, figure out exactly what configuration we would end up with.
Anything else?
Talking about Schofield Avenue and sidewalks, so if I remember, so it used to be a county highway.
Correct.
And then it was basically just become a village roadway? Or is it still a county highway?
It's a village roadway now.
Okay, so the responsibility of all that construction used to be the counties, and now it's kind of our responsibility to figure out how we're gonna change anything.
Correct.
So would it be possible? Anything's possible, but like putting a sidewalk on that north side east of Camp Phillips Road.
Yeah.
Even if you're not doing a roadway construction, like how much of a hassle is that?
Yeah, you can do just a straight sidewalk project. The last one, Schofield Ave on the south side of the road between Birch and a little past Camp Phillips Road, that was completed 2011. And that was just a sidewalk project, just so that people, walking to Bricks or, it's probably the biggest place people walk to is Bricks down there. Cole Vantage is right next door at the time. There was a goat path, a dirt path that was worn into the ground where you could see people were walking, so, we put a sidewalk in. So yeah, that's a possibility, to do that. That's, if that's something we want to add to the list here, we can do that. I guess I was just trying to get a preliminary draft, some ideas on paper, and, whatever other thoughts you guys have is part of the process.
How much right of way is there on that road? Where does it currently now?
Oh, yeah, I mean, these trees out here, I think, are pretty much are right on the right of way, like the bigger mature ones. So I think we still have a good.
We got plenty of room.
I think the only pinch point is maybe right around Vino Latte. It's kind of narrow, but otherwise.
How about Harley? Same thing?
It could be, the right of way is kind of.
Right away is variable in that whole.
Yeah.
Well, Harley has it on Camp Phillips, but not on Schofield.
Yeah.
I think absolutely.
Yeah, so right around that corner, Vino Latte to the corner, the right of way's kind of messy. But then after that, it's, if you look at where the fence is, kind of east of Von Kennel Street, that fence is on the right of way line. So that's a good.
That's back quite a ways.
Yeah.
Quite a bit.
That's at least, 25, 30 feet, I bet.
Probably, yeah.
But that's not gonna do any good, because you're not gonna bring the sidewalk around it back there, back in. I mean, you gotta stay in line.
Yeah, we'd stay in line, but, I guess the question was, do we have enough right of way?
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, in this area, you don't have much, probably about a foot.
Over here, I think we've
The
got
other
more.
side, the other side,
Oh, the south side of the road, yeah, I think some of that's
about the foot.
pretty much right on the right of way line, yeah. I don't know, if the road was just built off centered or how that worked, but,
It used to be called Douglas.
yeah.
I guess I personally would like to see something done, for people to be able to walk up and down that street on the north side and access places. I don't know if you just go to like Ryan, because then there's access to the trail, or if you go all the way through, but I
Yeah,
certainly don't know what year you would look at something like this, but I think it's something, that could be beneficial to a lot of people, and something to look at.
sure.
maybe you have done this already, but maybe you wanna take a look, some crossing on Schofield Avenue. People cross any place.
Yeah, I mean, we'd have, Van Kennel, Mesker, some type of head crossing at, those sections. I don't know if we'd need, any mid-block crossings, but,
Look at,
yeah. But yeah,
Was there conversations years ago about putting lights in at Schofield Ave and Mesker?
It's been studied
Okay.
at different times. But never met what they call the warrants for justifying the need if you were looking for state funding. I guess we could put them in if we wanted to, is always the answer.
Yeah.
Then you have another intersection to maintain. So,
I
I
don't know that it's needed either, obviously, but I know there's been thoughts of, well, if you put in signals or something further to the east, maybe it'll slow down traffic between Camp Phillips going to the east, because otherwise then it's kind of a straightaway and people just start going, but
the other intersection that comes up more recently is Ryan and Schofield Avenue.
Would that be advantageous to have a roundabout?
roundabout is good all the time. And
Well, I mean, De Pere has them, have it blocked in certain areas, so.
I think that's one of the things that the DOT, if you're searching for federal or state funding, that's the first thing they ask is to justify or to, say it does or doesn't meet the criteria to put in a roundabout instead.
Are they more willing to give money on a roundabout?
yeah,
I thought so too, yeah.
we look at the roundabout at Birch and Schofield, Alderson and Schofield.
Even Camp Phillips and Ross.
yeah. So we do have a study going on with Marathon County Highway Department right now at Camp Phillips and Ross. And part of that is looking at a roundabout alternative, or some kind of reconfiguration of turn lanes for the signalized intersection, so.
Do you have enough room to put in
A roundabout?
a roundabout?
We own the northeast corner now there. And then, we've talked with the school district in the past about, if we needed to do something on that northwest corner, so, we wouldn't wanna go any further west than we are with those apartment buildings there, but maybe we'd have to, move things east. So and then the county also talked to us about expanding X heading north there. If you go, was that north of Concord Ave, it kind of transitions to the wider 4-lane with the median, and then it comes down to the, 4 lanes tight. So, as we looked at the new municipal center building, we did kind of account for that in the site plan. So if the road were to be expanded, there's room there without having to redo something down at the parking lot or anything, so.
The problem with roundabout is you need a lot of room.
Yeah,
That's why I asked.
And there you're gonna need more, cause you have a lot of semi-traffic going to the west there off of Camp Phillips. So you're gonna need a double lane.
I think
Yeah.
those apartment buildings gonna be gone practically.
Well, you'd have to move it all to the east.
yeah, it'd all shift to the east.
Yeah.
So,
You don't wanna cook at the road off alignment either.
no, well, it'd come back.
I think with the roundabout, it'd be a lot more feasible.
Yeah.
I know the county didn't wanna do what we did right now there, by offsetting that road the way it is at the intersection, because you do have a blind, you do get, you can't see, say if there's a vehicle parked, especially a truck to turn westbound from northbound direction. Any cars that might be alongside of them are obscured as you get to that intersection, so you can see why the county didn't like, making offset intersections. I guess, it's a common sense thing, I suppose, but anyway, that was the practical solution to acquiring apartment buildings on the west side though at the time. So,
I think we're gonna end up buying it anyway.
right? So maybe, I don't know.
One side is a vendor, the other side, I'm not sure who owned the apartment building. Mark, do you know?
There's a guy that lived in Edgar.
I just looked the other day and, they've been there a long time.
Yes.
On the southwest corner.
Okay, anything else, gentlemen?
The only other one I was gonna bring up is Northwestern.
Good.
And I realize it's 5 years out, but, just, I guess, stressing the importance of talking to the city of Wausau about those plans. I checked Wausau's Public Works 5-year plan and Northwestern's not on theirs.
Yeah,
And so we certainly wouldn't want a sidewalk that just terminates in the middle of the country. And I know Wausau doesn't have sidewalks on that side, and I guess would it be good to have a multi-use path or sidewalk or whatever, but I guess just kind of talking to them about any plans that we do there.
yeah, I mean, that would be one where, was it 3-4 years ago, the city of Wausau repaved their portion of Northwestern, like, so it's kind of like, man, if we would have known you guys were doing that, we could have done something together at the time too, but, a multi-use path probably makes the most sense through there versus sidewalk, just with the usage and, people probably using it more as a, a bike route or, parking at the park and maybe going for a run or something like that, so.
Part of their problem, I think, though, there on Northwestern is they're up against the railroad tracks. That railroad right away, there's drainage in there, I know too. They've actually got storm in there. So they're gonna be squeezed on that side.
But yeah, no, we'll definitely, call Alan
And
and,
the finish of craft is right tight too, on both sides.
yeah,
Not a lot of wiggle room.
Maybe look at the other side. Paved shoulder or something.
yeah, I mean, that might be part of it too, is do we get there and say, well, maybe, from, maybe these residential neighborhoods heading east to the park, a multi-use path makes sense, and then maybe as we start coming up the hill, it's transition to paved shoulders or wide, so. Maybe some kind of,
So, if, as it is, if you're doing it, you're gonna just widen the road, widen it, or?
yeah, I guess the thought is we'd, probably look at, footprint wise, the street is, I think it's 26 feet wide. So we could probably leave that as is and then try to add, a multi-use path, probably.
They use it as a bicycle path from Wausau to.
Yeah, they do. Yep. So, anything we can do to try to improve that, I know it's listed, I think, on even the MPO's kind of recommendations for improving bicycle routes around the metro area.
Yep.
If there's something we can do at least on our side.
Anything else? Michael? Is that it?
Yeah, I guess, some of the, I guess just some of the other sequencing items, maybe. We got Weston Avenue here in between Alderson and Birch. So I guess once that project would be done, it'd loop the water main over, which then would make kind of putting in the water tower over here a feasible, I think in my mind, a good logical next project.
I thought you said water tower goes by the hospital.
Yeah, so U8 is, so the hospital is.
Right.
So it's right next to it. It's across the street from the hospital.
Do we have land in there, or we have?
Yeah, so we own
already
that property.
a lot there,
Good.
right next to the gas gate station, as they call it. It
Yeah.
wasn't really usable for anything else. So the reason for that is because the Summit Tower is so small in capacity, it really doesn't, doesn't give us the storage we need. And to try to reconstruct something on that site's a little difficult, so.
Yeah, and the Summit Tower. Is this. Right over there, so
It's tucked in between a bunch of houses back there.
so we'd end
So
up,
you're gonna abandon that?
yeah, we'd end up, abandoning, decommissioning this tower once the spot at, I guess, U8 there is built. We might try to leave a pole, like a monopole there, that is the point of contact for like our automated meter reading systems up on top of that tower, so.
So move the tower, move the tank,
Yeah,
put that,
but probably keep a pole of some sort there.
Where's the lot on, by U8 for the tower?
So if you,
You have a little pointer?
I don't have my laser,
Oh, okay.
but, sorry. So if you ever drive past this corner, there's that white fence from WPS,
Yes,
and then the High Lines comes through right here.
okay.
So we own, it's like a inverted L, I guess would probably be the best way to describe it. So, the lot kind of wraps around there, comes up. If that makes any sense. So it's,
So where would it go?
so it go, the tower itself would probably be somewhere in here, I think.
In the
Okay,
north part,
okay.
most highlands.
Yeah, and then there's the gas line, the A&R gas line, I think is right through here. So we'd be having to make sure we're away from the gas line. I know looking at the past studies for the site there, had to be so far away from the helipad for the hospital, so far away from the overhead lines, and so far away from the gas line. So I think there's a tiny little area on that site where we can actually put it. That was all Keith's pre-planning work. I just get to do the fun part now, at some point.
okay, anything else, Michael?
No, I guess that was just kind of the, I guess,
You're gonna reorganize your schedule here,
I guess,
adjust a little bit, maybe talk about them, and
I guess what adjustment would you like to see?
we'll make sure the water treatment system are come first, let's put it that.
Sure,
This
yeah.
is-
So I have the wells as shown as a 22 construction,
Mhm.
and then the treatment plant and kind of any Bladel Avenue reconstruction as a 23 project. So,
If we can bring it earlier, that would be awesome.
okay.
You need to get those other wells up going.
Yeah, we need to get the other two wells up and going before
Yeah.
we can look at kind of tearing down the other two, the Altaverdi and Bladel. So I guess that's what I was trying to, the sequencing of it, and then at the tail end here, in 26, we're kind of projecting the Mesker well treatment plant and upgrades to the water treatment plant here too.
See, Mascara, that's the water I drink,
Yeah,
so that,
so,
and same thing, that gentleman sitting over there, I'm sure you get part of it too.
yeah, he probably mostly gets well 6 water, from the north side there, but, the Mesker well, we have it, we've changed our pumping sequences. So Sternberg and Altaverdi are, like 800 feet apart from each other. And, Sternberg and Mesker are about 1,000 feet apart from each other.
Right.
Sternberg is by, all testing parameters, one of our best wells, our cleanest well. And, Mesker is one of, if not the dirtiest well. I don't know how that works geologically, but, they both pump to the water treatment plant. So, right now we have it where, the Sternberg well pumps first, it's the first one to turn on, fill up the treatment plant. Then as capacity is needed, Mesker pumps. And then, when capacity is reached, Mesker turns off, Sternberg keeps pumping. So we're, it's a little bit of that, dilution of the pollution, of the Mesker well, so that the treatment plant is still producing, okay water. So it's above the secondary standards for, iron manganese, so. If we could, I'd like to see that one get bumped up quicker too, but, some of it's too, just trying to balance the economics of all these projects too. They're not cheap by any means, so.
Right. Okay,
So, yeah,
do whatever you can with them and bring them back and
sure, okay.
talk about it.
All right.
Thank you. Is that okay, gentlemen?
Mhm.
All right. Next meeting dates, Monday, September 2021 at 4:30 PM. Monday, October 11. Monday, November 8. Monday, December 13. They all start at 4:30 PM. Item 17, topic for future meeting. Can't talk about that. Remark from administrator, Mr. Donner.
Nothing unless you have any questions for me.
I do,
Do.
yes, I asked for a resolution for engineering services in the village. They have to provide insurance. What's the status of it?
We need, okay, no, I'm sorry, I don't have that. I will, you want it to come to the committee?
Sure.
Okay.
All right, thank you. Remark from staff?
Nothing here.
None?
Nothing further.
Okay, remark from committee members?
None.
None? All right. Don't have any announcement. Accept the motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much, gentlemen, for attending the meeting.